So last night I watched Supergirl, and I'm sure you've all seen the reviews, but I tried to go in with high hopes because superhero movies are typically my favorite movies to just sit down and watch in theaters, which is why it pains me to say that Supergirl was not very good. It takes elements from Thor Dark World, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Star Wars while completely misunderstanding what made those good and charming. I wasn't expecting Seth Rogen to have a voice acting role here, so I was happy to see, or I guess hear him, but his character is a blatant Babu Frick ripoff from Star Wars. The slug that Kara eats the eggs from is again a Star Wars ripoff. Every planet they visit feels like the director and scriptwriters trying too hard to appeal to James Gunn and just remaking sets from Guardians Volume 1 and 2. The villain feels exactly like Malekith from Thor Dark World. He's boring and unforgettable, plus I can't even remember the one in this movie's name. The scene where he slaughtered the family in the alleyway was pretty unexpected and raw, and the jump scare with him on the beach actually got me. But he just feels so hollow and one dimensional as a villain when you compare him to the previous DCU film villain, which was Lex Luthor. Plus, the finale was really boring and felt way too similar to Black Widow's finale, which is not a favorable comparison. On a technical aspect, it's also not very good. The CG is solid overall, but there's a lot of bad moments to pick out. The opening is really boring when you compare it to Superman, and I kind of feel bad comparing the two because this one had a much lower budget and it's smaller scale. But it's all I really have to compare it against because it's the only other DCU movie, and Superman himself appears in this movie. And about that, I really love his cameo when they first meet and he's bumbling and he's like, "Oh, do you know Kansas? No, why would you? You can't understand a word I'm saying." It's a very well acted, funny cameo, but it's so out of place within the movie. Kara is literally dying and then out of nowhere it cuts to the Superman cameo. I really feel like they could have done a better job in implementing him in, but oh well. His part at the end was good Man of Tomorrow setup as well. The general setup and premise of the movie doesn't really work either. I don't care if a movie uses common tropes if they do something unique with them, but this is just a typical revenge plot. And while I love Crypto, I don't think the entire movie should have been about saving a dog. I don't have as much investment in that as I did in something like Guardians 3 where they had to save Rocket. I do think Ruthie's actor gave a pretty good performance for her first role. That scene in the jail cell where she's trying to convince the guard to let her go is very well acted. But again, stealing from Guardians, she keeps challenging the villain at the worst times and getting dealt with easily, just like Drax with Ronan in the first Guardians movie. And the whole movie resolves with her having not really done anything. The finale is just her standing around watching Kara do all the work. Plus, at the end, she hugs Kara and goes, "I wish it never happened." Like, no shit, you wish your entire family wasn't killed. You didn't need to say that. It takes away from how impactful that part could have been by saying such a stupid and painfully obvious line like that. The whole script is honestly just really bad. This is the scriptwriter's first feature film, and you can tell she wasn't ready to be handed source material this big. There's so many of what people call Marvelisms, which are just typical comic book movie corny lines. I feel bad for Millie Alcock because she's really pretty good in this and does what she can with a truly terrible script. Also, I love Jason Momoa, but his Lobo is bad. I don't think it's fully his fault, but I also think that he was heavily miscast. He's boring in this and doesn't feel like enough of a threat and gets imprisoned way too easily. The pacing is awful. There's so many fight scenes that would have been way cooler if they weren't weirdly short. And then there's times where it just completely slows down and they should have done that for the action scenes instead. Also, yeah, that needle drop is absolutely atrocious. I thought it was bad before I had seen anybody else say it was, so I'm glad everybody agrees it sucked. And lastly, it's not a criticism to the movie so much, more so to the original comics, but different colors having different effects on her is dumb. I always hated that, and that's why before last year I didn't ever like Superman. So for my final rating, I'm giving Supergirl a 5 out of 10. After all the critiquing I've done, you would think the rating would be lower, but like I said, I also love superhero movies, plus Millie Alcock does her best to make it better. Maybe it was just a cool song they used, but I was actually expecting a good movie because of the trailer, so I was very disappointed.